Okay, so this is Woodworker Royer, and we're back for part 2 of the tape measure um, saga, I guess. Anyway, starting back with the Stanley lever lock, we already went over this one in the last one. But if you notice here on the hook of the blade can grab stuff easier if you're I can find a scrap of wood to use for this. So say you've got, the edge of a table or something like this, and you only have one hand because your other hand is obviously holding the edge of the table. It's important. Probably holding a nailer or something like this. You need to or a pencil or something. You need to measure. Only have one hand. So what this is why I like the auto locking tape measures. You grab your tape measure and you drag it across the edge of the table, and there you go. You have a whole 16 inches, and then you can just kind of ratchet that wherever you need to go. So that works really well with this Camelon self-lock. However, it doesn't really work at all, as you can see with this Stanley. Now, this may or may not be the same for the larger ones, but at least for the 12-foot model, any angle you do, I mean, I barely got this, and then the blade is so wimpy that it barely works. So it does work, but you saw that it took a lot to really do that. And the other thing I will say is that this is a lot smoother and easier to pull out versus this one. The spring, really actually, I guess the locking mechanism in this one has a much stronger spring, and that is way, it's got grindy and much more difficult to pull out, which is a downside to it, in my opinion. It works fine as long as you don't have to do it with one hand, and then you're gonna have to find like a corner or something, because if you see in here, there's a cutout kind of concave shape in the bottom, in the base of the tape measure where it sits down, and so if you can get something like the corner of a board or something up in there, then you can pull it out. But otherwise, if you're just trying to do a flat like this, doesn't do anything. So that's the big downside to this. And I just keep it. I don't even worry about the clip here, because honestly, I don't think it worked that well to begin with, and I just keep it in a drawer. So there's no reason for this ever to be clipped to my belt, or pocket or whatever. And then finally, we're going to get into the DeWalt's. I'm trying to think if I have just seconds. Oh, I found 2 more that we're going to do. Actually, we're going to start with this one that I just found to start off. Now, this is a Milwaukee, obviously. It is a magnetic one, 25 foot, and this is a vise here that my camera sits on. And as you can see, it works just fine. This one's claim to fame, other than the magnet, is if you look at this. Also, I just want to go back to this one for just a second. If you look at this, just like the Camelon, it has the kind of the old-fashioned hook here. It's a lot looser than the Camelon, and more wiggly, but it doesn't have anything on the sides or the top. You're only going to be grabbing things with the bottom of with the hook, which again, that's fine. It's just for real construction, all that stuff. You want to, in my opinion, you want to have one that'll grab on anything from any angle. However, that can get annoying sometimes. Which we come to this one. It has that, It has a hook on the bottom. It's got a place for if you had a nail in a board or something, you can like literally I've seen guys put a screw, they make a line or whatever, then they put a screw in the board right on the middle of that line, and then they can line this up on that nail, and any way that they turn it, it will stay there because it's the nail, the head of the nail or the screw or whatever is caught in that little hole. And that's really good. I've never actually done that myself. Again, I'm not a professional, but it's a nice feature. And actually, I'm now noticing that both of these have that feature as well. I'm not sure what this notch in the bottom of the blade is here. They seem to all have that though, so I don't, maybe that's something for that nail thing. I don't know. Anyway, so on this hook we have the regular bottom of it. We have grippy on the side, both sides, and the top. Although they have this this magnet here that is kind of a ramp, so you don't have, even though it sticks up, this far from the blade, almost as much as on the bottom, it's got this ramp, so you only get about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch of space on this that actually grabs anything. And then of course you have the namesake magnet, or I should say the namesake magnet, but whatever, the magnet, which is pretty powerful, works just fine. And then also it's kind of nice with this one, that if you kind of take it off at an angle, if it's flat against something and then you kind of pull it off like this, it pulls the magnet away from the board or the metal or whatever you're working with and detaches it, so it just rolls back up. This one is not an auto locking tape measure. It's a normal, you have the tab there, whatever, that locks. This one's real claim to fame is this right here, which allows, if you notice, this closes, it hits here, it stops there. So you can have your finger down here and control exactly where that blade, which by the way is that part of the tape measure, exactly where that blade goes. The other thing that's cool about this one that none of the other ones have, at least that I've shown you so far, is it also has markings on the bottom and the top. As you can see, the Camelon does not, and the Stanley does not. And again, that's just if you had this, upside down, or you had somebody underneath reading the numbers or whatever. It just gives more functionality to it. This is about $25, I believe, when I bought this. It might have been for $2, I don't remember. But I do not like this, and I will tell you why. The whole design, the design is great. The internals are the problem. The magnet, the spring that coils the tape measure back up is pretty weak. It's certainly not in par with a Stanley, or even a DeWalt, in my opinion, like the Fat Max or those old Power Lover or something. I don't remember what they're called. The old chrome Stanley ones. It's not even anywhere close to that. So I noticed that just with working with wood, maybe a little bit of stuff, in, like digging a hole or something, and I need to measure between fence posts or something like that I did for, I don't know, maybe 50 feet of fence. I mean, it wasn't a lot of fence, and it wasn't anything professional. And the other one of these that I had was just dead. It literally would not retract on its own. I'd have to physically push the blade back in. So I don't know. And it wasn't that the spring was broken. It was trying. It was just that I had to, it couldn't overcome all the dirt and stuff in there. So I just tossed it because honestly, I don't know. I've taken apart one tape measure and it just exploded with the blade going everywhere. So I just decided that it was not worth, the $12 or whatever to go through the pain and agony of having a tape measure explode in your face. so I just tossed it, and vowed never to buy another Milwaukee tape measure because their springs don't work. And honestly, it wasn't that old. It was maybe a year old. I don't even think it was, probably more like 6 months or something. And it broke from like non-professional use. Now, obviously, you're not really supposed to take your tape measure out into the dirt and everything, but I wasn't getting it dirty. I was just working, and it was on my hip, and got, some dust or whatever, and died. Well, I mean, if a tape measure can't handle that, I don't know what why it exists. Because that's literally like every job site. If you're on a job site, you're either drilling holes in concrete, or you're around wood dust or metal filings or who knows what. And if it can't handle a little bit of dirt, it in my opinion, it has no business being a tape measure, because that's just part of the job. They can legislate and whatever they want to do with their lawyers and tell you not to do it in the manual that everybody throws away immediately and never reads. But the fact of the matter is, that's what people do with it. That's a job site. So anyway, that's my little rant. I like the design of it. I really liked the little finger groove here that you can, kind of control the thing so you don't smash your finger with it. But, honestly, this particular thing, if they had a better spring in it, it would have been much, much better. But these, I just don't like them. I will say I really loved, again, I loved everything else about this. I really love the very strong belt clip on this. And I don't know what the difference is between this one and this one, but the one on the Milwaukee works way, way better than this. There may be a little bit more space in between the clip and the body of the tape measure here than there is here. I don't know. I have no idea. But this belt clip works way better than the one on the Camelon, or the one that was on the Stanley before I took it off. It was the same, like, flat sheet metal design. But yeah, so again, if you're going to keep it really, really, really clean, maybe the Milwaukee would be an okay one for you. I wouldn't spend 30 or 25 or whatever they charge normally for them. I would get them on sale, because I don't think that unless they've improved them since I got this one about 5 years ago, it's not going to last long enough to make it worth that. So then I upgraded. After I got rid of the Milwaukee, and the other Milwaukee, I've still got that one, I just don't ever use it. I got a DeWalt. I went in there, I specifically looked for a spring. Now you can hear the difference between these two. Kind of slow and thunk, and snap. And it's just in. So, if it's not moving out or stopped, it's, running home. So this is obviously a DeWalt 25 foot. This is their mid-tier. I think it's their tough one. I don't remember what model. They've got like 3 or 4 different levels. They've got like the cheapo one, and then they've got this one, and then they've got this one that's like their super tough. You can throw it across the room, drop it 50 feet or something, and it'll be fine. But I got this one first. It works just fine. It's got a magnet. It's got, kind of, 4-way grabby part here. Has a little bit of grab on there, a little bit on this side. You can get that in frame. None on the top, because they didn't have the hook go up high enough. They did, and then they just decided that they need to put the magnet on there, so it kind of defeated the whole purpose of having this. But it, obviously has the nail deal on the bottom and a magnet. One thing I will say, I really don't like the ones with the magnets. Um, they get, if you can see, if the camera focuses, there we go. If you can see right here, it's metal filings and junk and whatever. What I do is I take a little bit of masking tape. Now, you don't have to get the orange stuff. I just, you know, love orange apparently. There's some subconscious thing about orange that I love. And put over the end of that. Now, arguably, this is going to change your measurements if you butt this up against something and measure. It will very, very slightly change the magnetivity of the magnetic ability of this thing to attach to things. But I haven't noticed either one of those things as being an issue. If you're worried about it, don't worry about it, or, you know, don't do this. But what this does is it keeps the dirt and everything off of this. So when this because it'll still collect stuff over the tape, but when it does, you can just take another piece of tape, the sticky side, and just kind of go over that and peel it off. That might actually work with just the bare magnet itself, but I like putting a piece of tape over it just to make sure that it doesn't get stuff on the magnet itself. And then if I want to, as I peel this off, I can just, you know, keep the stuff off of that magnet so the magnet never gets worn or, you know, gets stuff like it has now. Oh, good grief, I can't even get this off now. You know, where it's in the crevices. Oh, goodness gracious. Where it's in the crevices around the magnet in the housing. Which just, it bothers me. It probably doesn't affect anything unless it gets on the actual face of the magnet. And then it'll start building up and do basically the same. I mean, you can see all the junk that came off of it with this. So you can do this. Kind of just sticking and pulling and clean it off and actually get a lot of the stuff off of there. But again, I just always put a piece of tape over this. I don't know why I didn't have it on this one, but anyway. And it just keeps it cleaner. Again, this is just a normal, everyday, you know, slide thumb thing. It's got rubber overmolding that is slightly softer than the Camelon. And then it's got these ridges and stuff built in. Whether that is all rubber or not, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like there's plastic, and then they just overmold, you know, put a little bit of rubber over the top of it to make it look like it. But that's to, you know, if you drop it to make a you know, an impact zone or whatever, so it doesn't actually break the rest of the casing. Whether that works or not, who knows? But I really like this thing, I guess the switch on the DeWalt's. It's, I don't know if you can really see or not, but there's a gap right here, and this is hollow rubber, so it's really soft and grippy, and it feels really good when you're using it. And then also on the DeWalt's, they've kind of got like a two-stage. Got one here where it kind of holds it. It won't hold it from going in, but it kind of holds it there. So if you wanted to, you could put your finger in front of this and just stop it. And then they've got the if you go all the way, the rest of the way down, then it's totally locked, and you know, it moves a little bit if you're really trying, but for the most part, it's not. I really liked this one. I just didn't really like the magnet on the front of it. And I didn't realize I had, you know, more than 5 tape measures. I've got 5 total sitting right here, and I've got more than that. So I went and I bought the better one. Probably more because of their marketing than actually needing another tape measure. But this one, if you notice the profile of these two, this is very straight. You know, it's basic. It's almost like a cylinder with like an extra little, you know, square bit, or a box with the corners cut off or whatever, where the sides are totally flat. I mean, it's got texture to it and whatever, but it's basically flat plane. With this one, it's kind of rounded. I don't know if you can really pick that up on the camera or not, but it fits in your hand. They claim like a baseball. I don't know why they would do that, but why they would draw that analogy, but whatever. It's more like a ball shape because it's curved just enough to really get a good thing. I don't know why they're drawing the analogy with a baseball, because you don't really want to be throwing these at people. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe you just play baseball with people, and they have to hit it with a sledgehammer. So I don't know. I can imagine. I can imagine the workers' comp claim for that. Oh, I broke my arm with the sledgehammer. That I don't even know. Anyway, back to this one. The belt clip is again kind of reminiscent of these. It works, but it doesn't, because it's got this rubber stuff down here and everything, and that it doesn't work as well as the Milwaukee or this DeWalt. But anyway, so that's this thing's claim to fame, is it's kind of a rounder shape, more spherical or whatever. And then then there's the same kind of mechanism where it's got like a half setting and then a full down, which it doesn't. There we go. You got a half setting and a full down. On the front few inches of this, I don't know if you'll be able to pick that up, but around 9. Come on, light. There we go. Right there. There's that little curve right around the inch mark at 9. See that? And that is an extra clear coating that they put. It's clear. It's not extra clear, but it's a coating that they put, an extra coating that they put up to the 9-inch mark, because this is the most used part of the tape measure. It's going to see the most abuse. So because of that coating, which is actually fairly thick, it's probably a 32nd of an inch thick or something, it doesn't want to close all the way until you get to like 10 inches, and then it'll close. But you don't really need it to close at that point. You're just real quick doing a quick measurement. You're not doing anything out 10 feet or whatever. The hook on this is also a 4-way. It does not have a magnet, which is one of the reasons I bought it. It still has the nail holder part. Has grip on the bottom, on the sides, on the top. It does not have a magnet. It does not have a finger thing. I think that was Milwaukee's patented design for these, which I really liked. I wish I could get it in these, but these kind of solve the problem in a way by having that kind of half lock or half halfway setting there, where it's not totally locked. You can still move it. You can kind of hold it with your finger, but it's not gonna retract and chop off your finger when it hits, which this honestly probably could do if you let it, because the spring in these DeWalts is much stronger than in the Milwaukee. I have dropped this, as you can see. It does do damage. I was nowhere near there. I think these drop from 50 feet or something, they claim, and survive. I don't know if you'll, I don't even know. I've never been anywhere near that height, and it's, beat up. It still works fine, but I'm just saying, it's not going to look good after you drop it from 50 feet. Let's put it that way. And then it also has a little lanyard hole here. This is by far the biggest and most useful of the ones. The Milwaukee here has one, but it's covered on all but the one side. So there's like a little pin that goes through here that you have to somehow get a zip tie or lanyard or whatever to go in and turn and come back out on the same hole. And so I think that particular design is really stupid. I don't know why it would be so much harder to have a hole on the bottom too, much like this one, you know, and also make it big enough that you can actually get a decent sized piece of fabric in there, as opposed to this one which is only about 1/8 of an inch thick, you know. So this is one of the designs on this, other than the spring, that was just not well done. And then on the other DeWalt here, we have kind of a cross between the two. We've got a bigger hole that goes all the way through, but it's not like the really great, you know, top of the line DeWalt that, you know, you can actually look through and see the other side. It kind of has to wrap around like this in there, which is fine. I mean, I don't have any problem with them putting a fastener here like they did with this one, or here like they did with that one. They just didn't. Oh no, they did. I take that back. They put a fastener in this too. They just did it, you know, cut out a little bit more around here. Does that really affect the strength of this casing? I doubt it, because this one is rated for the highest drop. I don't know that either one of these two was actually ever tested for how far you could drop it without it breaking, but, you know, this one is you know, claims to be 50 or 35 foot or something, I don't remember. But anyway, so that is my review of these. I think these two are my favorite. I probably use this one the most because it just sits here right beside my table saw. It works fine. It's probably my oldest tape measure. These lever locks are just kind of, yeah, they work fine. It's just that pulling it out with the one hand, which is, in my opinion, the only reason you want a self-locking tape measure, where basically you have to unlock it to pull it out. I don't really see that there's any reason to have that if you have two hands, because literally if you have two hands, you can use one of these, with much better springs. This does not have a very good spring in it. And then the Milwaukee, again, I would only buy one of these. I wouldn't buy one of these at all, but if you want to get one of these because of this feature here, I would get it only if you have a very, very clean shop. And then one last thing with this big DeWalt is this clip design is amazing. It's absolutely perfect in my opinion. It's straight. It's got a huge hole, or a huge opening down here that anything, I mean, if you're wearing insulated overalls or whatever, it doesn't matter, will come up through there, latch, and then, you know, catch in there. This old design, this cuts up pants because it's sharp metal. It's kind of hard to get on some of them. This one is good. This is an improvement over that, where at least it's not sharp, and it's actually a lot strong. I mean, this is by far the strongest clip. But then this, in my opinion, this is by far the best design for a belt clip on a tape measure. But anyway, this has been Woodworker Royer, and I hope to see you guys next time. And Woodworker Royer out.